And I'm so grateful. Mr. Klingman is the dad of triplet 11th graders. So he is right there in the middle of that with you guys, he and his wife as upper school parents. And this is such an exciting time. I was thinking about what are the chances, we ask you guys to come out on a summer evening as your summer's starting to come to a close, and then it starts raining. Can I just tell you, major bonus points for you guys for coming out on a rainy evening. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. It has been so fun, starting last Wednesday with our new folks, and then yesterday with the whole team back. And I hope you guys are planning on being here, or your kids being here on Thursday for Meet the Teacher. On the upper school end of things, we always think we probably should just change the name of that. Right? We should probably call it Come Hang Out With Your Friends before you have assignments due in Google Classroom, right? So they're going to come, they're going to see each other, they're going to visit their old teachers, meet people, but it's a great time. We hope that your family has had an awesome summer. I'm going to tell you, for the Strange family, it's been a great summer. We've enjoyed getting to spend some time with each other and just a little different rhythm. The highlight in our house is Eli, our son. He's 6 years old, heading into first grade. Pray for Mrs. Olchenbruns. That news is going to come tonight, but that's who's his teacher. But first week of June, we had kids camp at our church. We go to Cedar Crest, and Eli prayed and asked Jesus to be the Lord and Savior of his life. So by far the highlight of our life, and just what an incredible summer. And I want you to know that's like our number one prayer for all of our students at North Cobb Christian. We have a number of our students that would quickly, be able to acknowledge that they have chosen to follow Jesus Christ with their life. And we have some students in our school who, if we ask them that question, they would say, I haven't made that decision, or I don't quite feel ready. So I want you to know that is our prayer for any of our students that don't know the Lord, that they would come to know the Lord. And for those that do, that they would grow in their relationship with the Lord. And then another highlight from this summer that was kind of unique, our family went to the Dominican Republic over the 4th of July. I know, we didn't die, clearly, because we're right here. And so everybody was just like a little nervous about that. I didn't even post any pictures till we got back. I didn't want anybody to worry about us. But we had a wonderful time. It was great. And something that was a little bit unique, it was the 4 strangers, my husband and our 2 kids, and we took our moms with us. I know, right? Everybody's not sure how to, yeah. So when I mentioned that to Clint, he said, the idea, he said, let's just remember this conversation, that this was your idea. He goes, in case we need to revisit this later, let's remember you suggested it. So both of our moms turned 65 in this past year, and we said, you know what? Hey, I think it's a really good idea. And, we had a lovely time with them, and I think we've decided every 65 years we're going to take a vacation week. So it's just become kind of this tradition. But it was so fun because, when your parents become grandparents, it's like a whole different ballgame, right? A whole different deal. So I'm the oldest of 3 kids. And when I was a senior in high school, I had to go to bed at 8:30, I think is what it was. We didn't eat sugary cereal. We didn't watch The Simpsons. To this day, I can hear my mom saying, Renee Abel's children will have purpose in their life. They will not watch The Simpsons. Just like all those different things. And the rules were relaxed when my brother came along and my sister. It was really basically a total free-for-all, right? How many of you are in here on behalf of an oldest child or an only child going in high school? All right, you know how it is. You spend most of your time apologizing to them. I didn't really know any better, and I'm so sorry. But it's so funny when your mom becomes a grandmother, right? And things change a little bit because we're on vacation and, trying to eat like a nice little healthy breakfast at the buffet. And my son is like 6 bowls in on Lucky Charms. And my mom is like, do you want one more? And I was thinking, where do we get this from? And we're staying up till 10:30. We're jumping on the bed because that never hurt anybody. Honestly, here's a great picture. Okay, this is my mom. I know she looks like she's younger than me. But those are my kids. And that's some kind of pineapple water coconut thing. Nothing really crazy, but it's like 10:30 at night. All right, and she just thinks that's wonderful. But being with my mom and my husband's mom, who is equally as delightful, you just get to see people in different seasons of life. And For some of you guys, we're walking into a new season of life, and that's not just the ones who are going into ninth grade. It's also the ones whose kids will be driving themselves to school for the first time. It's the ones who are seniors. We've done a little college boot camp over the summer, or maybe we didn't do it. We're just kind of pretending that's not coming. We'll do it later, all those kinds of things. But we've learned a whole lot about seasons of life. And I'll be honest, I turned 40 this year, and I'm really trying to kind of slow down, notice these things. Over the summer, took a lot of walks in the evening with friends, sometimes with Clint. Eli would go with me. Emma, we have discovered, thinks just walking to walk seems very pointless. Like if you're walking with a purpose to go somewhere to shop and spend money, that makes sense. We just thought, but it's just a lot of great time to think. Seasons of life. And then notice what the Lord is doing. Today is July 30th. Meet the Teacher is on Thursday, August the 1st. Monday is the first day of school, August the 5th. Graduation will be at 10 a.m. on Saturday, May the 16th. And on Friday, May 22nd, our underclassmen will walk out from finishing their exams and head into summer. And you know as well as I do, we're going to go from sitting in these chairs to sitting in the chairs at Westridge, ready for graduation. Stephen Covey, in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, reminded us that we have to begin with the end in mind. And I'm thinking about a lot of you guys. I see a lot of these faces that I've had the opportunity to interview as your kids are coming new into the upper school. This is my 15th year at North Cobb Christian. My 11th as the high school principal. And honestly, one of my very favorite things to do is interview new families because we're entering a partnership. And some of you guys I've gotten to know because your kids are coming from our middle school. We've talked about a lot of different things. But I think it's so important for us to think ahead to graduation. And some of you in here already have walked that path before. Some of you are taking step 1 tonight. But to think ahead to graduation and to think ahead to that moment when Mrs. Bollinger, our college counselor, calls your child's name. And they walk across the stage looking beautiful and handsome. And they shake Mr. Klingman's hand and get their diploma. They come a few steps back, I'm there. And then they take a few more steps and walk down the stairs and sit down with their classmates. We do a few other things. We throw some hats. And then we dismiss them into what God has for their life. You know, what I ask a lot of times in the interview is, what do you want to be true about your child in that moment? What do you want to be true about their character, about their walk with the Lord, about their purpose? How many of you tonight are in here because you have a child that is going to be a senior this year? Awesome. How many of you are in here because you have a child who will be a junior this year? A sophomore? Freshman. How many of you have multiple children in the upper school? All right. How many of you have already had one or more children graduate from our upper school? And then if you are new to North Cobb Christian this year, I want to ask you if you would please stand so we can appropriately welcome you. Folks are standing. If I could ask our home folks, our returning folks, to look around and see these folks, and before they leave tonight, could somebody make sure they've got your number or your email, or you can just give them someone else's number. If they look like there's somebody who's got like a million questions, give someone else. Hey, but we are so glad you guys are here. So returning folks, let's make sure these new folks make a connection before we walk out the door tonight. So thank you. Y'all can grab a seat. Yeah. So wherever you are along that path, the Lord has clearly brought you here for a reason. You know, I look out there and I see several of you that you have had one child or multiple children graduate from North Cobb Christian School. And you know what? Isn't it wild to think that the child or children you're in here on behalf of, their path is different? Right? Do you see that? Right? If you try and parent all your kids the same, it doesn't really work all that well. You can try it. But as we set off Monday, August the 5th, God has an incredible year in store for the child or children you have in upper school. I read a book this summer. It's called Juliet's School of Possibilities. Anybody else read that? I could have said that I made this up. But it's by a lady by the name of Laura Vanderkam. And she's just an interesting lady. She's a Christian. She's written a number of things. Most of what she writes is about productivity and organization and things like that, kind of stuff I really enjoy reading. But Juliet's School of Possibilities is a fable, just simply about priorities and things like that. But I'm going to summarize the whole thing for you. She reminds us that expectations are infinite. Time is finite. You're always choosing. Choose well. So this year is going to be about choices. All right, so as a family, the Strange family is going to sit down and make some choices about how we're going to allocate our time and our efforts and our energy this year, and you guys are too. And I want you to know, and I say this a lot in the interviews, but I want everyone in this room to know, I firmly believe that one day I'm going to stand before the Lord, my husband's going to stand before the Lord, and we're going to give an account for the choices that we made for Emma and Eli Strange. And I want you to know that because you've engaged in this partnership at North Cobb Christian School, I truly feel like I'm going to stand before the Lord and give an account for the choices that we made on behalf of your children as well. I want you to know our teachers feel the same way. All right? Even today we had a couple of meetings with the teachers, and yesterday, man, they take this so seriously. They love your kids, and they know that it's about so much more than high school, right? We're a college prep school because that's an important type of thing, but man, it sure would be a disappointment if all this was just for college, right? Right? So we're here because we believe that God has something really unique and incredible in store for your child, and we're all going to have a part in making some choices, and your kids are too. So one thing that we'll do Monday, we'll kick off with your kids, is our theme verse. And when you walk into the school, there's a banner. It's very intentional. You walk under that banner when you come in the school. There's a banner in the gym. We'll talk about this on the retreat. But I love our theme verse this year from 1 Peter 1:13 because there's a lot of action items in there. It says, "Therefore, prepare your minds for action. Be self-controlled. Set your hope fully on the grace to be given you when Jesus Christ is revealed." Man, I love all those actions. It's super helpful when you think about, I think probably any school out there could say, hey, prepare your minds for action. That sounds wonderful. Be self-controlled is important. In fact, I was looking at what is the original Greek translate as for that for the beginning of that verse. And it's actually gird up the loins of your mind. I think there's a t-shirt somewhere in there. But it also says to be sober. All right, so every day that's important. We want that when they come to school. But okay, good. You got it. That's right. But can you imagine what this year would be like if all of us, the bumps in the road, the mountaintops and the valleys, if we truly set our hope fully on the grace to be given us when Jesus Christ is revealed. One of the things we talk about a lot, I was talking with the teachers yesterday and everything. I mean, everybody's entitled to kind of a rough day, a hard time, things like that. But we have to remind ourselves, on our very worst day, everything has fallen apart over one Ren Web missing assignment. We're still going to heaven, right? If we know the Lord, we are still going to heaven. So we're going to have a lot of opportunities this year to make some choices. Our hope is we're preparing our minds for action, we're being self-controlled. But if somebody were to look at the whole picture of this school year, man, wouldn't it be awesome if we were saying, hey, we chose hope. We chose grace. We chose joy. Those would be some highlights. A couple of you know that I really enjoy reading. We're just a few minutes in, and we're on books number 2 and 3. These were 2 of the books. For our upper school teachers this summer, we had just kind of several books that they could choose from to read. I had a few that I was interested in them thinking about reading, and some of them did a choose-your-own-adventure and picked some things that were awesome for things they wanted to grow in. But I want to let you know that 2 books that have really made an impact on me, both as an educator and as a mom, are How to Raise an Adult and The Gift of Failure. All right? So when we go to Chick-fil-A as a family, which if my husband had his way, we'd eat there 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. The Chick-fil-A app is probably the largest single line item in our family budget, actually. But so for years when we've gone to Chick-fil-A, Clint is one of the most gracious and wonderful and helpful people you could ever imagine. Clearly, the Lord gifted me with him. Tomorrow's his birthday. So Clint graduated from Georgia Tech, and he can read, but he doesn't normally choose to read. But we're at Chick-fil-A, and we get the kids' meals, and he loves to open up the nuggets, open up the applesauce, lay out all the things, which is delightful, and that's so sweet of him. But every once in a while I'll say, it's good for them to learn how to do that. It's okay for Eli to open the ketchup and it get all over his shirt. Next time he'll open it slower, that sort of thing. Clint chose How to Raise an Adult. Y'all, we were at Chick-fil-A a few weeks ago. He didn't open the stuff. He goes, I understand what you mean. And you know what? Eli could not open the applesauce. So we finally caved, and now he's going to choose fries as the side. But we were kind of laughing because these are really, really helpful books just in life. Just thinking through what are the things I'm intentionally going to choose to equip my child to be successful and to recognize, hey, all the time I can tell my child that the stove is hot. Chances are good they're going to remember that if they touch it, right? And I'm not saying we don't burn our children, but just to say there's value in learning those things. And we had a good chuckle. We were thinking, before parents could reach out or come by the office, they have to take a little quiz to demonstrate that they have read these books this year. I'm totally kidding. We decided to go with a paper instead. We thought that would really, but those are just some resources for you. I want you to think about your upper schooler. All right, they're entering a season of life where they're starting to make a lot of choices. They're also starting to ask a lot of questions. And my hope is that you're providing a path for them to ask you a lot of questions. And in their classes, we provide a path for them to ask a lot of questions because some of you also have younger children who ask a ton of questions. And questions are how you learn. But I want to let you know, when we think specifically about biblical worldview, when we think about high school students, here are kind of the 4 main things that they're wondering about. They're wondering, where do I come from? They're wondering, what is it that gives my life meaning? What differentiates good from evil? This is not a black and white generation, is it? It's not, because just when they think they've arrived at something, they know someone who stands on the other side of the issue. All right? We're choosing hope and grace and love. What differentiates good from evil? And then what happens to a person when they die? We'll spend a lot of time in our Bible classes talking about those things: origin, meaning, morality, destiny. But I want you to know some of the most valuable conversations that are going to happen in those buckets for your kids are going to happen next week on the retreat. We're sitting around some rocking chairs after lunch. They're going to happen in the chemistry classroom after the bell has rung and everybody's standing around chit-chatting because school is out for the day, or in their advisory groups, or in chapel. And so I just want to let you know that one of the most important things that we're doing here is we're helping shape the lens that our kids are using to view everything. And we're helping them to see that your Bible doesn't just belong here. It doesn't just belong in your Bible class. It doesn't just belong at church on Sunday morning. It informs all of your life. So again, just some kind of big things. And who's going to help you get there? Partnership. I already talked about partnership. I love this picture right here. We have some pretty crazy Eagles fans if you come to some of our sporting events. And I love this picture right here because you've got a lot of different people in here, different looking people. I'm not sure about the guy with the helmet. Like, I'm wondering, did he ride a moped and he wasn't sure, like, where to put it? But I'm thinking about right there, they are cheering and cheering and cheering, but they're not on the field, right? They're not on the field, they're not on the court. And I want to let you know, I did a little math the other day. When I think about our upper school faculty and staff and add up the number of years that they have been teaching, we have over 500 years of combined experience. That's not just like 2 or 3 of the teachers. I mean, that's like everybody. And several of them have taught other places. Mrs. Stout, that teaches upper school math, she taught 32 years in Rome, which is remarkable. She's 40 this year. And in our upper school this year, we only have 2 new teachers. One of whom has been working at our school the last 3 years, and one of whom graduated from our school. So when you talk about just the DNA and the culture of who we are, out of our entire upper school teachers and staff, the folks that just work with upper school students, they have 56 of their own children that go to our school, and they represent 25 alums that have already graduated from our school. So perspective of kind of what they need in these next steps. I did another little piece of math yesterday. In our upper school, about 360 students in our upper school, 44 of them belong to people who are employed by North Cobb Christian. That's well over 10%. And I want you to know, I give you those stats just simply to say we're very, very invested in what we're doing here, because we're all bringing our kids to school with all of your kids. And so one thing, and right now it's the honeymoon period, right? We got that for probably a couple of weeks, and then after that you've had to wait in car line too long, and it's frustrating. But I think it's important that we all kind of think through how to approach a concern in the upper school, right? We're going to have bumps in the road. We're people. I tell our kids all the time, the only perfect teenager there ever was Jesus, and he does not currently attend North Cobb Christian as a student. So there are going to be some bumps in the road, right? And we want to do everything we can, all of us, to equip our kids to approach those situations, right? We want to approach our kids to approach their teacher. We want to help them know how to do that. We want to help our kids know how to approach a classmate. Any of those different things. I want to remind you, sometimes you guys are going to reach out to me, and I am not the one who can be the most helpful to you. And I want to be a good steward of your time. I had a perfect example. This actually happened yesterday. I had a dad send me, it was a very nice email. He was just inquiring about something related to his daughter or something from the end of this year as we head into this coming year. Just wanting to set her up for success. Great email, super sweet, very sweet family. And if they're here tonight, hopefully he doesn't mind me referencing that. But I was not the best person to help him. So what I did is I replied to him and copied in the teacher, department head that was the person that was the most helpful to him. And I want to let you know, it's not because I don't want to help you. It's just because there's a lot of experts here that are going to do a much better job at helping you than I am. We want to be good stewards. At the same time, we want to have good boundaries, right? I want you to be an awesome mom and an awesome dad. I want your family to thrive because y'all were a part of North Cobb Christian. So I want to let you know, I told you, making choices and thinking about choosing well. I'll tell you one choice that I have made is I no longer have my school email on my phone. All right? I, a couple years ago, decided to not take my laptop home in the evenings, and a few weeks ago decided I'm not going to have my school email on my phone anymore. Because it's so easy for me to, check in the evening. We've all been there before, right? And even if you check in the evening and you get that email that's kind of, not from any of y'all, some people who don't come to these meetings, but you get that email, and even if you don't answer it, like all night long, you've been composing this amazing response that is just going to burn them down, right? So I just decided I'm actually not helping anyone by giving that kind of access. You know what? I encourage our teachers to do the same. I encourage our teachers to think about doing the same. I've got a middle school teacher right here who I'm so in. Mr. Contract is right there. He supports you completely. So, in fact, I think he said you can never answer it. But I say it because sometimes those boundaries can be so helpful to not always be available. Sometimes it's so helpful to step away from the situation, take a walk, sleep on it. 99 times out of 100, it's really best to let your kid dive into the situation. And we're all here as their safety net, right? So every once in a while I'll get a note that'll just say, hey, Megan, I've asked my son to do this. We can always help with that. But hey, I'm going to believe the best about you, and when I say I mean our faculty and staff as well, and you're going to believe the best about us, and it's going to be beautiful. I do want to be clear that that's not to say don't reach out to us, we're not available. That's not it at all. There are things that come up that sometimes just the adults need to deal with, and we'll definitely do that. But I want to make sure you know, at North Cobb Christian, our class sizes are incredible. I was talking to Mrs. Hamilton today. She teaches Algebra 2. Definitely want to have some good personal input with that one. Right now, her largest class size is 16 kids. Celebrate that. That's awesome. I interviewed a young man from Allatoona the other day. His geometry class in 9th grade had 35 kids in it. All right? So it's hard to get to know everybody. I pray for our public school teachers. That's hard. Here, your kids are known, right? And parents and teachers, our job is to provide clarity for our kids. And I use this illustration every year, and I probably always will use it, that at home Sally and at school Sally are sometimes different people. All right? And every once in a while I'll be having a conversation with a parent and I'll say, man, Sally is wonderful. She's just the sweetest girl. And then the parent will go, I'm glad she's sweet somewhere. But we're here because we're Team Sally, right? So I know I'm really kind of harping on this, but it's very important. But I want to let you know, just for some perspective, you just have to take a short walk to be reminded that there are some real struggles, all right? So if you just go down Eagle Drive here just a little bit, you'll notice we have a prayer garden. And our prayer garden is also an opportunity to memorialize 3 members of our North Cobb Christian School community. Tolu, who passed away in the 6th grade, would have been a junior at North Cobb Christian this year. His brother graduated 2 years ago. John Michael Ritchie, beloved former student and upper school English teacher, passed away in an accident in September of 2015. Kathleen Sutz, February of her senior year, passed away in a car accident. Their lives weren't cut short. That was exactly what God had planned for them, that many days. But I just put that out there to say, there are going to be missing assignments in Renlove. There are going to be emails that don't get answered right away. There are going to be things that don't work. There are going to be things where somebody said something in a tone that they shouldn't have said, or maybe just should have skipped altogether. But if we keep our eyes on keeping the main thing, I feel like we can be really successful working together this year. So a couple things. I was talking to, this was just one little quote I wanted to share with you. It's from a pastor named Levi Lesko from a church out in Montana. And he was just reminding us that when these bumps in the road come, that right now you're in training for a trial that you're not yet in. Public victory comes from private discipline. So a lot of times we can remind our kids, this is shaping us. This is building our character, right? Sometimes we feel like we're just in that season of being refined. But I had some good brainstorming time with our upper school department heads last Wednesday. We always kick off the season with kind of a department head meeting in the afternoon, and then we have a big cookout with just all our upper school faculty and staff and their families, because we all enjoy each other. We're friends. We hang out outside of school, stuff like that. And I asked them, I said, just quick brainstorming off the top of your head, if I were to tell, if we were talking about current parents or prospective parents, what would you most want them to know about what they can expect about their child's experience at North Cobb Christian in the upper school primarily? That's what they said. Your child is cared about as a person. They're connected to adults who truly care about them. This is a place for kids to know and be known. NCCS faculty and staff are a representation of the body of Christ. Different personalities, different roles, but all equally important in the shaping and refining process. Our school is sized in a way that we truly see your child. Your child's teachers, they know everyone by name. Give me till about October, I'll know everybody's name in the upper school. And then after that, I'm going to do my best to learn all your names. I feel like it's important to know the kids' names first. All right? We do things on purpose in Northcott Christian. The things that we are doing here are eternally significant. There's incredible opportunities in the academics, arts, athletics, and student life. And authenticity is a key quality. We are who we say we are because he is who he says he is. You know, it's really interesting. We probably took about 10 minutes for that brainstorming. Not a thing about AP scores, ACT, SAT. We do really well in all those things, but we don't feel like those are the most important. They're part of the process, right? But there'll be bumps in the road, but God is working it for good. So if you don't mind, I want to take a moment and introduce you to your partners for this year. All right, so we have some incredible faculty and staff. This is our arts department, and I'm not going to read all their names to them. I'm going to send you these slides so you can kind of click through and see who some of these folks are. Most all these folks are returning faces. A lot of really awesome folks. Everybody in our Bible department is returning. Our English department, Mrs. Browning is new as our English department head, but she's not new to us. And then Mr. Arnold is new to teaching in the upper school after he's been here for a while and moving forward. Everybody in our foreign language department is returning. In our history department, everyone is returning. And I mean, like, tomorrow they'll return again. So, and in the math department, everyone is returning. Our PE and health department, everyone is returning. Science department, everyone is returning. In our technology and business department, we've got one new employee, Mr. Ryan Moore, who will be our business teacher this year. Ryan graduated in the class of 06, and any of y'all whose sons play baseball, you probably run into Ryan. He's been helping them out some over the years, but just an awesome young man, super excited. 13 years after he's graduated, that he's coming back to invest in our kids. That last one on the right, cutie, huh? There we go. Mr. Klingman and Mr. Bollinger. And really, if I were you, I would direct all my questions to Mrs. West. She's the one who runs the place. All right, Mrs. Pendley is new in our academic suite, supporting Ms. Bollinger, Mr. Bollinger, and Mrs. Phillips. Mrs. Anderton is new to our team this year. She's going to be overseeing our test room and some special projects for us. Mr. Ray with Student Life. International students. I know a couple of y'all are here tonight hosting international students. Our athletic department. Coach Mott is very elusive. I had to go back like 11 years to find a picture of him. Yeah, exactly. All the rest of us are in the yearbook every year. But, yeah, moving forward program, Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Speck are new to our team, but Mrs. Smith has been a mom at Northcott Christian for 13 years, and Mrs. Speck graduated from Northcott Christian. So these are our academy directors in the high school. I'll talk more about that here in just a second. These are our class sponsors. And the way I would kind of break up the difference between a department head and a class sponsor is our department heads here are, our department heads were at the beginning of each slide. They are the folks that if your child has gone to the teacher and then they need more conversation, the parent has joined, and we still haven't reached a resolution, a lot of times the department head will get involved and just kind of help sort things out, offer some advice, that sort of thing. But the difference between a department head and a class sponsor is our class sponsors, if we're at retreat and we're getting together to have a class meeting or do a fun activity, these are the folks that really kind of help us keep our eye on the ball from a social perspective, just as kids are connecting and making friends and things like that. So these folks are awesome. In fact, the 4 of them have just kind of rotated. After they graduate, they become 9th graders again, but they have been wonderful in that role. And then just a couple of things I want to draw your attention to under the nuts and bolts umbrella. When you look at these logos, everyone here is very familiar with RenWeb. We've been using RenWeb for a long time, or ParentsWeb. Well, it is officially changing to Fax. You've been using Fax if you've been at Northcott Christian for a while. That's where you put money on lunch account, pay your bills, things like that. Ultimately, the whole thing is going to end up being called Fax. And then this summer, it's very exciting, Fax and Google Classroom got married. All right, it's very exciting for us. I think they registered at Target. But so there's going to be, in the long run, particularly on our end of things, there's just going to be a lot more that'll make a lot of sense on how those work. But just to keep it easy, Fax and RenWeb is for paying bills, ordering lunch, and checking grades and attendance. If at the end of the day you get an email that says, hey, your child was unexcused absent, before you kill your child, because you know you dropped them off on time, you can go look in RenWeb, and it may be that the teacher has already fixed it. Maybe they came in a few minutes late, the teacher fixed it. But so you can check that. Google Classroom is where you see assignments, a to-do list, turning in assignments, things like that. And as you're getting acquainted in our upper school, if you're new to the upper school, we have blue days and we have white days. So English will meet every other day for the entire year. The first day of school will be a blue day. We begin every semester with a blue day. A few years ago, we did a white day. I thought the teachers were all going to revolt, and it was confusing. So the first of the semester is a blue day, and then a white day, and then we go to camp. But so 1 week will be blue Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and the next week blue Tuesday, Thursday. I promise your kids will get it. And even when they're grown up, they'll think of things in blue and white days. But the ideal situation is when your child leaves their math class on Monday and it's a blue day, they've left their math class and their teacher has said to them, hey, for suggested homework, you need to do these problems. This is the practice that you need. They won't have math again until Wednesday. The ideal scenario is your child goes home, immediately does their homework, like I'm sure they all do, and they check their answers in the back of the book, and then if they have any questions, they can go see their teacher on Tuesday to ask a question about it, so that when they arrive in class on Wednesday, their homework is complete, it's correct, and if that teacher says, hey, we're going to have a skill check over your homework, they're good. They've practiced it. Your kids are going to learn a little bit more about that, but we really want them to use their blue and white days to their advantage. And I want to tell you, it's another area where I really want to brag on our faculty and staff. They do an awesome job with this. What we've asked them to do is by the end of the day Friday, which for some is around lunchtime is when they sit down and do this, and for some it's like 11:59 p.m. because they have families of their own and they're doing a million different things. I like for them to have Google Classroom for the next week updated, so that your family, when you're sitting down over the weekend, you know what's coming. And we can equip our kids, right? Our kids are going to be making choices about how to allocate their time for their schoolwork and stuff like that. Naviance is something that really comes into play on the college planning process, particularly college rep visits, transcript requests, letters of recommendation, things like that. So Thursday, meet the teacher. 10:30 to 11 is for new students in particular. We've got some hosts that are going to show them around. And then from 11 to 12 is returning teachers. Returning students. We encourage the kids to come, and we're going to send y'all an email tomorrow that will include a little checklist of everything they want to take care of while they're here at Meet the Teacher. Another thing that I want to make sure you know, if you're new to our upper school, is when I send out emails from the office, and 99% of the time when the teachers send out emails, we are sending the emails to the kids, and we're copying you. All right? So we're copying you because you pay the bill, right? And we want you to be involved. We want them to take that responsibility. So please know, like right now, the popular thing is parking spots, right? It's not summer reading, it's parking spots. So, I have a parent who reached out to us and they're like, oh my gosh, I feel so terrible. We've been out of town, and our kid, they didn't do a parking spot. Yeah, they did. Actually, the kid got the email because they found some Wi-Fi and they were on Instagram and they checked the email and the parking spot's valuable to them, so they already signed up for the parking spot. So that's no problem. But just so you know, our students know when they get an email, they need to take care of business. So in your family, you might just say, hey, did you see that email? And just so you know, we're training them. Take care of that. One quick word, because Meet the Teacher will be one of our first times kind of on campus, but once school starts on Monday, we would ask our parents if you're on campus for different things. If you don't mind, please don't park in a spot that says student. Who do we think those spots are for? I know, it's like an awkward laugh because everybody's done it, right? You know, I'm just going to park here just for a minute. The only problem is if we park in their spots and they got to park in somebody else's spot because they're not early. They're pulling in at like 7:59. And so anyways, if you can help us out. But if you do come back for a ball game in the afternoon and they're open, you're good because they're seniors and they've probably gone home already. Sharp Top Cove, this is going to be the site of our upper school retreat. It's next week. In fact, by this time next week, your kid is footloose and fancy-free. They have no homework. Maybe starting their summer reading, but Wednesday, I mean, let's be honest, right? But we're going to leave for retreat on Wednesday morning. They're going to come to school at 9 o'clock because we do take one on Wednesday mornings, dressed for the retreat. And we're going to head out Wednesday morning, and we're going to come back on Friday afternoon, and nobody is new after the retreat. They're going to meet their advisory group leaders. We're going to be in cabins. We've got an awesome speaker, band. We're just getting away. And we're spending some time and we're investing deeply in their relationship with the Lord and their relationship with each other. So please carefully read Mr. Ray's emails. There's some forms to fill out, things like that. If you have any questions at all, have your child email him. All right? So the next one, hey, I just wanted to draw your attention. I'm not going to go in depth about our Academies program because there's so much information this time of year. How many of you in here, your child is already involved in one of our academies? All right? We have 5 academies in our upper school: the Academy of the Arts, the Academy of Business, the Academy of Counseling, Ministry, and Education, the Academy of Exercise and Sports Science, and our STEM Academy. And those academies are simply a way for your child to have exposure to that specific area of study. So you're going to get a lot more information about that over the course of this year, but I would encourage you to ask your child, have you ever thought about being in one of the academies? And if they're not sure, encourage them to ask around. And when you get this slideshow, you can look back through and see who the different leaders are, and there's a link to a lot of information about the Academies program here as well. Oh, the beloved summer assignments, right? I'm sure that's what some of you left your children at home to do. This is all I'm going to say about that. They've been posted on the website since May 1st. I have no hope that the child's going to start on it until at least August 1st, so it'll be nice and fresh for the first day of school. But in all seriousness, you know, if you do have questions about that, again, please have your child email us, them, their teachers, whoever it is. But I'm going to give you parents an assignment, right, before school starts on Monday. This is your summer assignment. It's an assignment for the Strange House, too. On Sunday, I want to encourage you to go to church together as a family. All right, as a family. Maybe you're new to the area or you've been kind of visiting. Now's a great time to get plugged in to a local church. There's some really awesome ones in this area. And then, sometime on Sunday, lunch or dinner, whatever works best for your family, as y'all are sitting around the table together, I want to encourage you. Let me ask you, how many of y'all would be honest enough to say, hey, I'm a little nervous or maybe just all out terrified about this year? All right, you know what you're going to do? You're going to tell your kid you're very excited. All right? Okay? Think about this. When they were a little kid, they tripped and fell, and what do? You keep a straight face, right? Because if you look horrified, like they're crazy. So if the bone's sticking out, you just keep smiling. Okay? Hey, here's the thing. Sunday, we are going to remind our kids God has incredible things in store for you this year. I'm so excited about this opportunity for you. And you know what? We're going to do that often because they take their cues from us, right? You know, sometimes I'm smiling in the midst of a crazy situation and people might think that is really nuts. Thank you, Dante, for nodding on that. I appreciate that. You know what? It's because even when it's all falling apart, I'm still going to heaven. It's going to work out. But that's your parents' summer assignment. go to church together on Sunday. That lets your kids know, hey, I value this. All right, and I want that for you. So, and then once you do that, rinse and repeat. Do that as often as you can. Dress code, simple. We're trying to help our kids see what's appropriate for different situations. Retreat is more like the left. Regular school days is more like the right. All right, so the dress code, no major updates for this year. Please look over it. If your child has questions, they can reach out to us. Please do not ask us to ask your son to cut his hair. We will not. If his hair is giant, we'll just ask him to sit in the back of the room so the other kids can see. I don't know how many of you guys have had to look around and find community service forms in the past, right? How many of y'all have had to go back, that sort of thing? We're not even doing the papers anymore. Mr. Ray has put together something awesome with an app called Mobile Serve. He's going to send a lot of info out to you. Just wanted to let you know that. Spring term, lots of exciting things coming your way for spring term. Lots more details coming in September. All right, so the kids are kind of all abuzz. We like to get the word out in July, but just want to let you know that we're excited about spring term. We've got some stuff between here and there, but we're very excited about that. But another thing that we do at North Cobb Christian that I'm really excited for y'all to hear a little bit more about is our annual fund. And so tonight, we're going to be hearing from some folks who are joining the ranks of the upper school as their son Charlie becomes a freshman, and Charlie's totally going to rock this, which is great because he's the first of the 4 Swanson kids to come our way. So can we please welcome Matt and Stephanie Swanson?
I'm Stephanie Swanson. Can you hear me? This is working? Okay. And this is my husband, Matt, and I don't know if any of you have done the Enneagram, but he's a 5 and I'm a 7, so I obviously get the microphone. I have this as my little cheat sheet, but as Megan said, we have 4 kids at North Cobb Christian. Charlie is our oldest and will be going into 9th grade. Gracie is going into the 7th grade. Sam is going into the 4th grade, and our baby Annie is going to kindergarten. So if I'm a hot mess this next week, I have my first going to high school and my last going to kindergarten all at the same time. But we have been at the school for 4 years, and this is my 2nd year serving as the PTF president, and so since I have the microphone, PTF is not just for lower school families, and we would love to have you guys join us on the first Friday of the month at our PTF meetings. But we just wanted to talk to you briefly about the annual fun. And the Eagles Annual Fun is conducted every year in October. It is only 10 days long, so it's quick and fast, but it is really how we get to do a lot of things at North Cobb Christian that is not in our regular operational budget. In the last year, some of the things our annual fun covered was the gating that you see going up, our new security gate that we're going to have, our school-wide card readers that our teachers and our students use to get from building to building and throughout the buildings, resurfacing the parking lot. We got new turf on the baseball field. We have new fine arts equipment. We've got a concession stand up at our new tennis center, and then we also use it for financial aid. So I'm going to let Matt talk to you a little more about annual fun too.
I did want to say, Ms. Strange, like the whole not getting your email on your phone, I did that in 2014, and it is the most freeing thing that you can do. So if any of you have that opportunity and you can turn your phone off from your email, it's fantastic. It really, really helps. So I would highly encourage that. It's a good time. So like Stephanie said, we've been here, I guess this is our 4th year at North Cobb, and just to reiterate what Ms. Strange said, every teacher here that we've encountered loves our kids. And for those of you that are new, you should just have a piece about being here that they're going to really care for your kids, and it's not just a talk that they're going to talk from the podium. They truly will get to know your children, and you should have a piece about your kids being here, and that they're truly, you heard with Sarah that spoke on the video, I mean, they're hiding the Word of God in their heart, and when they leave this school and they go out into the world, God's going to protect them and have that there. So just know that you're at a place where this is not just a facade. They truly believe in what they say. So I can't thank North Cobb enough for what you guys have done for our family. So, but like Stephanie said, the annual fund, it just goes to, since we've been here in the 4 years, the tennis courts are brand new, the baseball fields have been redone. I could name countless things that it's really helped for. And I think this year a lot of the focus is on security. I know even over the summer, some of the entrance gates and things are being put in. So the big thing that we really need from the annual fund is just to participate. So it doesn't matter if it's $100 or $1,000. I mean, obviously $1,000 is better than $100, but you know, the thing is, like, all the grants that the school is able to get access to, they want to see participation. So, you know, just participating in some way, whether it's just a very small, tiny amount, or if it's a much larger amount, that's what matters to the grants and all the foundations that then match a lot of the gifts that are given. So I'd highly encourage you to do that. And like I said, this is you should go into this first week of school just with a peace that, you know, God has your family here for a reason, and North Cobb is really here to shepherd and foster your kids. So, yes.
Well, let's do this. Always, you'll find when I do meetings, I always like to take just a quick moment to open the floor for any Q&A. But I have one rule. You should ask a question that would potentially pertain to more than just your child, maybe kind of for the good of the group, if you will. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to open the floor for a few minutes just for some general Q&A. And then after that, I'll bring our time together to a close because in a few minutes, I need to head up the hill because my daughter's going to be in middle school, and I'm a parent that needs to go to middle school orientation. And Chris West, who's in the back, most of you guys have gotten to know Chris either from being here or through the interview process. Chris is fantastic. Her daughter will be a junior, and her 3 older sons have graduated from here. And all 4 of her kids are very different from each other, and they've all found their path here. So she's just a wealth of knowledge. But do we have any questions kind of for the good of the group that I could answer for you guys? I mean, I don't want you to be afraid now because of the rules of the Q&A. So, I mean, maybe somebody could toss a question out and we can let them know if it's a good question or not. Something like that. Yes, Kimberly.
Last year, our son was in a class, and the homework was optional. And he did most of the homework throughout the year.
Yeah.
But the days that he chose not to do the homework, the teacher shot me an email and said, hey, just wanted to let you know, he did not do the homework. I shot an email back saying, yes, that was the night we chose not to do it. Is that a policy that teachers have for themselves in high school, or all of the teachers do that? Hey, they chose blah, blah, blah.
It's a great question. So our homework philosophy in the high school, because normally one of the most pressing questions I get, particularly in the interview process, is, how many hours of homework is my child going to have? There's really no good answer for that because your child may spend 8 hours up in their bedroom, but if it's because they're updating their vlog and their Instagram and they're not doing 8 hours of homework. If you ever have a scenario where your child is doing that much homework, they're not doing our homework. So maybe let's get together. But the philosophy on that in our upper school, a few years ago, we moved to something called suggested homework. It's not optional. And it's not no homework. All right, the kids really cheered when I first explained it, and then I said it's not no homework. It is our teachers who have a keen eye and a lot of experience who say, this is what I suggest you need to do to practice these skills in order to master the concept. So what will happen, I'll stick with my math analogy because that's kind of an easy one. But your suggested homework in math, you go home and you do it, or you do part of it. When you come into class, the next class period, and you have a skill check, if you did your homework, you can have it out on your desk. And then you're going to have a skill check that's probably 5 to 10 questions that are very similar to the homework questions. Usually it's like the exact same type of problems, just different numbers. And you can refer to your homework. And if you've really taken the time to correct your homework, that's really going to help you. And but here's the thing. So if Jack has said, I got a busy week and I really grasp this concept, I'm not going to do my homework. Jack can come in, sit down, do his skill check. If he does really well on it, we put the grade on and we move on with our lives, right? If Jack does not do well on it, some classes it's a 75, some classes it's a 70 or below. If they score low on it, then the teacher will simply put a comment in RenWeb that just says, no suggested homework. We agree. That's a choice. Sometimes it's an awesome choice, but what we're looking for is just patterns, right? So if I have no suggested homework, no suggested homework, no suggested homework, low quiz grade, low test grade, we may want to we may want to try the homework, right? So that sort of thing. We're just trying to help the kids because here's the philosophy. Hobby MC sends you a bill. They suggest that you pay this amount of money if you would like to have the lights come on in your house when you come home. The choice is yours. We talked about choosing tonight. You know, if you don't pay, they turn the lights off. And then you can still choose whether you want to pay or not. If you want the lights to come on, eventually you got to pay. And that's really what this leads to. Eventually, you've got to figure out that balance. So I'm glad you asked that. It's a great question. But no, I mean, you probably wouldn't really get an individual email from a teacher saying, hey, they didn't do it tonight. The only time you really hear from a teacher is when we kind of maybe start to see a pattern. But again, in the upper school, what would happen is your child would get an email, and sometimes you'd be copied on it. Usually, probably the first time, we just might reach out to the child. Or you might get an email addressed to your child, copied to you, that said, hey, really appreciated the chance to chat after class today. And I really love when you contribute to class, but sometimes you're not prepared. So we're kind of encouraging them. We're bringing the parent into that a little bit too. Yeah, great question. Yes?
Okay, so is the suggested homework will be on Google Classroom?
Yes.
Okay, so we see the suggestion as well.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. You know what I would do, like with Lane? I would, when you're sitting down over the weekend, I'd say, Lane, show me on Google Classroom what you have this week. That sort of thing. We intentionally do not have parent logins to Google Classroom. All right? Your child has a login. We encourage them to share that with you. All right? But we do not have parent logins. We don't do the, I think in middle school, do they do the Guardian thing, Devin? Okay. We don't do the Guardian thing in upper school. All right? We're going to kind of take the training wheels off. And the bike will fall down sometimes. All right? And that's okay.
Their Google Calendar will get updated with all of their assignments
Mhm.
from all of their classrooms. So that's really
Yeah.
nice to teach them. Look at their calendar. Here's everything you have due for the week.
Mm-hmm.
Plan accordingly.
Yeah, we're definitely just very integrated with Google because their student email address is a Google address. Google Classroom can populate their Google Calendar. Some kids prefer the to-do list view. Some kids like to look at each class. Lots of options. Carmen?
Will they typically have a lot of tests and projects grouped together? I mean, I know exam time, they have those tests and stuff,
Sure.
but will they have more than, let's say, 2 subjects testing on the same day? And have
It's
like 3 tests
hard
or 4
to
tests?
say for sure. We do not have a hard and fast rule in the upper school that you can't have more than 2 tests in a day, and this is why. We have so many kids on so many different paths, but this is what we do, and it's very counterintuitive to teenage culture. The idea would be, gosh, I've got a lot on my plate. Couldn't I put something off? Well, actually, the way we do it here is we allow our kids to take things early.
Okay.
So if you look at your week ahead and you say, gosh, for some kids that's I've got 3 things on this day, and for some kids it's 2. It just depends on kind of their capacity for those things. But I may reach out to my history teacher, Miss Clark, and say, hey, could I possibly take your test before school, maybe take one on Wednesday, because I've just got a busy week. So we're training them to look ahead. But the other mechanism we have with that is our 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grades all have what we call a student load calendar. We do not publish that for the parents. That's just kind of an internal mechanism we use where our teachers are putting those things on there. And every couple of weeks they meet together and look 2 or 3 weeks out. And we also keep in mind homecoming is coming. We want our kids to come. We want them to have a great time. All those different things. So we keep an eye on balance, but we want to train our kids to say, my load is heavy this week. What can I do to help with that?
Thank you.
Yeah. Stephanie.
Okay, so with this Google Calendar and the being able to take a test early and suggested homework, for these freshmen, we have like a high school 101 that kind of teaches them about all this stuff, because that's also different from middle school.
Yeah, and Charlie came to it. We actually
Okay,
had it
cool.
over
I
the
know we
summer.
had this on-
The upper school edge. You know what? I'm so glad Charlie came. Charlie's good. Yeah. Just so you know, you registered him and you paid him. And it was great. He was wonderful. Super friendly as always. Can I just give you a tip, 9th grade parents? I think you'd be wise in your house to say, until Thanksgiving break, suggested homework is required in my house. All right? They're figuring things out. And then after that, we give them a little space to see how it goes. If they stumble, we add a little something back. But let them give it a try. Okay, so that's kind of how we roll with the high school and the freshmen. Do it all at first and then figure it out. Let me give you one tip on suggested homework with math. If they're 15 problems, tell them don't do just the first 3. Do a few here, and a few there, because they get a little harder as they go. I hear it. Zach.
Just tacking on to that, for all the parents whose 8th graders moving to 9th grade, what is the hardest transition point for a 9th grader, and how can parents be proactive without that? In your experience, what is the hard transition point?
I think I truly think it's that taking that responsibility, but it goes back to when I was joking about saying, I'm so excited, this is going to be wonderful for you. It's, y'all have got your 3rd kid coming into high school now, and each of your kids are wired different than each other. And I think that's really the biggest thing, is that transition of, I trust you. God has equipped you for this. You're going to do great with that. And I think that's probably one of the hardest transitions, is just in middle school, you are tracked with all the kids in your grade level. And y'all are all pretty much doing the same thing on a regular basis. In high school, it spreads out a little more. You've got different opportunities. We encourage our kids, get involved in the arts and athletics and clubs and honor societies and things like that. And I think the best way to help the child be successful, say, you've got this. You've got this. And when they're feeling overwhelmed, sometimes, and I guarantee you one thing that I'll do, and Chris helps with this too, is sometimes a kid is drowning and we'll say, hey, come by the office, we'll just get an old-fashioned piece of paper and we'll write out everything. We'll say, hey, what's the easiest thing on this list? We'll do it first. It's like Dave Ramsey's debt snowball. We'll pay off the littlest thing first, right? Let's get a little success early on. But we're going to help them see, hey, it's okay. All right? They're gonna screw some things up, and that's okay too. It'll be all right. Yeah. Yeah.
Are the seniors going ahead for the retreat a little bit earlier like they usually do in the past?
I honestly have no idea. Somebody asked me that earlier this morning. Mr. Ray does such a phenomenal job putting things together. It hasn't really crossed my table just yet. Maybe, but it's probably in that retreat stuff if they are going to leave early. So, okay, so maybe not. Maybe they're going to leave right at 9, and then the rest of the high school leaves at 9:30. So something about our bus company or something like that. The good news, we're only moving 45 minutes down the road, so it's fantastic. Yeah. Yes.
Are the students able to get their school email onto their cell phone?
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of them do that. And and that's great if that works for them. Cool. Yes.
So I actually have an email technology question. Their Google email does not accept emails from like the home email account. If they have to download pictures or anything and send.
So it doesn't in middle school, but it does
Right.
in high school.
It does.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, a few years ago when we switched to this, in high school, they can email anybody and anybody can email them,
Thank
within reason, so.
Do you any more to the spring term, or it's kind of what we got? I was reading it and I was
Yeah, I honestly think for spring term, we could potentially have one more domestic trip. I know we'll definitely have one more local option. Yeah, we will not add any more on the international, and this is one actually key thing. I don't know if any of you guys have heard, but Atlanta will be hosting the Final Four next year. And so that really I see my friend from Delta right there. So we're calling to make these plane reservations, and I'm trying to tell them, like, I'm going to lead the Guatemala trip this year. I'm trying to tell them, no one from Guatemala City is coming to the Final Four. I should be able to pay like the regular. So anyways, that's kind of impacted our international trips a little. But this is what we did. The most we've ever had is 5 international trips. That was last year. This year we only have 4, but what we've done is we've bumped up the capacity a smidge. Yeah, so we're still serving the same number of kids, just 4 instead of 5. Thanks, Katie. That was a great question. Yeah. Yes?
What about the intention of workload on Wednesday night? I know originally it was going to go over Wednesdays at church, so then we kind of saw that.
Yeah. Sure, and I know some of that in middle school with the classes meeting every day. In high school, it's actually not an issue because on basically by Saturday, your child knows what they have to do the whole next week, so they choose what their workload is on Wednesday nights. And really one of the main things about that is like at my church, the high school ministry is on Sunday evenings. And I've got some other kids who go to a church and their small group is on Tuesday nights and things like that. So actually, we feel like this is a little better model to accommodate some of those kids that are plugged in different ways. So for sure. But if there ever is a situation where a child's real active in the student ministry at their church, and they're having a hard time managing their workload to the point where they're saying, I don't know if I can go, your child needs to reach out to me and ask me to help them. All right, I guarantee you, I came to know the Lord summer before my 11th grade year in high school because of being involved in my student ministry, and I think every child at North Cobb Christian should be plugged into their church, very active, so it's a great question. All right. Cool. Well, I am going to disband this part. If you want to stick around and ask some questions, you're welcome to. Can I pray for us before we go? All right. God, thanks so much for the evening. Thank you for this chance to gather. Father, we dedicate this year to you for your glory and your purpose. We thank you for sharing these awesome kids with us. We know they're your kids. Father, we trust that you're going to use this year in an incredible way to grow them and help them to become more of the people you created them to be. Father, I especially lift up all these parents and grandparents and friends that are in the room tonight. What a joy it is to see how much they love and support these kids. I pray, Father, that you just would fill them, provide for them, and just give them a lot of excitement and joy about what you have in store for this year. Lift up our faculty and staff for the same. I thank you so much for their gifts, for their heart, for their compassion. Pray that you would fill them and use them in a mighty way. And Lord, I pray that when we get to the end of this school year, it'd be very clear that we've chosen hope and grace and joy in a way that honors you. So God, we love you, we praise you. It's in your name we pray. Amen. Awesome. Thank you all for coming out. We'll see you soon.